Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to season 6 of the MindShare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kits Keep in Touch Systems, a 2-time international award-winning marketing suite for sales professionals, as well as REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's premier monthly magazine for real estate professionals. Learn more about our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of our MindShare 101 goal setting worksheet, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 266. She is the broker and owner with Remax Rouge River Realty Limited, a family-owned and operated brokerage established in 1987. As a second-generation realtor, she has been licensed since 2000, starting as a full-time salesperson before moving into brokerage management. And as of the start of 2024, she is now also the president of the largest real estate board in Canada, the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is Remax broker, owner, and TRREB president, Jennifer Pearce. Jennifer, welcome to the MindShare podcast.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you. I know this is a big role. Like, we're just getting started. We've got the largest board there. I want to start off by saying a big congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You know, we've been fortunate, as we were saying before we got on air. There's been a great list of individuals who I'm fortunate to call a lot of them colleagues now, people that, I continue to talk to. But individuals have held this position. You are now part of an awesome list of people that have been there. Now, the big question, as always, is now the time to buy or sell? But instead of flat out answering that question right at this moment, I want to add some substance to this conversation today. I want to answer that a little bit later on in the show. But, we've seen the market conditions climb to what most would say are completely unaffordable prices. It's difficult for people across the country to, most notably in our larger cities, but it's very difficult for people to, get into that new place. First-time home buyers. It also becomes impossible for people that are working hard. And I put out a video the other day and I called it like normal people. And I say like normal people that get up and work every day, for them to even move up to that next place that, they're looking to go. So sales in 23 were nothing like they were in 2022. How did those two markets compare? Like, what was the main driver of why we saw such a significant change in the market?
Well, really, it was an affordability issue brought on by the higher borrowing costs. So it really kind of slowed things down. Everyone took a little bit of a step back. Really, the uncertainty and are there more rate increases coming? Or are we at a place where we can now budget and figure out what we want to do going forward? Because there was a lot of that going on in 2022, and even in 2023. I think we have 3 or 4 rate increases again. So it did taper off at the end of the year, which was nice. But it really it had an effect on our market in 2023. We were less than 70,000 units sold, which was down 12%. Our average price was just over 1.1 million across all areas, which was down 5.4%. And we haven't really seen a market with that type of decline in quite a while. So the motivation just wasn't there for buyers.
I would say that the other day I was browsing through, I don't remember which, sort of like feeds it was or whatnot, news outlet. But there was a property that was showcased, sort of mid part of the city. Not a massive place, but like initially listed like 5 mil. And then, people are talking about the fact that it's down like $1.5 million. And I mean, I think it's all indicative to the price and what it was listed at, to see like, should it have even been listed at that price to begin with? But I mean, when we're looking at those declines right now, like naturally we've seen declines. Naturally, we've seen prices come down. And that's what happens when you come out of what I think was historically our hottest real estate market on record. Right. So you're going to see something. It's like that whole thing of like, what goes up must come down. Right. So naturally, but would you say, like, is the market set up for buyers right now? Is it set up for sellers right now? Like, and why? Either way you look at that.
I, word on the street is that we are in a bit of a buyer's market right now. I be inclined to say it's maybe a little bit more balanced. We always have this supply issue that comes up. And as soon as demand or interest starts to grow, we just don't have the supply to meet that demand. And where we may have had an opportunity for buyers to enter the market and have that ability to negotiate the sale price, and it disappears very, very quickly because the supply is not there. So it's this never-ending circle of not being able to meet that demand.
Yeah, and I want to come around to the housing supply issue shortly, a little bit later in the show here, because I think it's something that needs to be addressed in the same way that, you know, are we going to be able to find solutions? But we'll get to that point. So, buyer's market, you say, to some degree, there's opportunities, and I think that opportunity is the key word here. And for everybody tuned in, and again, thank you to everybody tuned in. I would say to everybody, the same way I just said, what goes up must come down. What goes down must go up. And we're not just going to talk about prices, but we'll talk about sales volume. You know, there's good things to come from this. You know, in fact, speaking to that, when we talk about the heated 2020 to 2022 market, to what we just experienced in 2023, there is always a silver lining somewhere. Were there any positives that came out of this change that we saw from almost the fact that, look, now I'm going to go off on a tangent on this one. I've been asking forever, right? I know everybody's heard me say this like a million times. They're like, where's all the money coming from? Right. And it's not that I expect that we're answering that today, but it's almost a rhetorical question. But I've been asking that question, Jen, for a long time, is to how is the average Canadian affording to put down that much money on a property, or even get qualified for X, but then put down Y because it went into multiples. This to me was something where we saw everything get inflated. Like I compare this to, I don't know if you remember, for sure you remember, but like 20 years ago, maybe, when gas prices passed $1, and everybody was like, this is crazy. When's it ever going to drop back down? It never dropped back down. Right. So when we look at this market now, would you say, based on all of this and the fact that, again, we were in these like crazy unaffordable ranges, people spending lots and lots of money, to where we are today, and I should ask you that question, but what I would call more a normal market, where's the silver lining in all this?
I think at this point, the silver lining has been, with a little bit of a slowdown, we've been able to see some buyers take a little bit more time, perhaps negotiate a better sale price, maybe some more favorable terms. So they've been able to offset some of those affordability issues because they've had a little bit more power in the market as buyers. Whereas opposed to, a year and a half, 2 years ago, that just wasn't an option.
Yeah, no, I think it was real difficult for people then, and I think unfortunately now we're going to see it as difficult for many because of the fact that, just like I sort of compare with gas prices, we never saw them pop below $1. So there's going to be this like new norm in terms of like what your sort of bottom is to the market. Which again, silver lining, I might look at it and say to every homeowner that's got a property, as long as you can afford, equity is building.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny before when I was preparing for your show, I was looking back at inventory and supply, and I went back because we were talking about, what it looked like a decade ago. And in January of 2013, we came into the new year with about 3.4 months of inventory. And since then, we've only had about 4 months that have exceeded that number in over 10 years. And 3 of those were in this past fall, where we hit 4 months of inventory. And now we've dropped down to 3, which is normal in a December month. But in comparison, I looked up January 2008, which, things weren't great. We had 8.5 months worth of inventory.
Wow.
Yeah. So when we talk about a buyer's market or a seller's market or balanced, things have changed a lot, and we haven't seen any improvement there in supply.
I just kind of said it from a normal market, but there's people like it's a bad market. What would your take on that be if you were to sort of define that?
Uh, there's always people that are going to need to buy, people that need to sell in any market. There's different reasons why people are motivated to do that. So there's always that opportunity to have business and to find clients.
So again, we're still seeing the positives no matter what.
Yep, absolutely.
Listen, it's the way to look at it. It's the same thing that I'll say to anybody. If this is what you do for a living, this is how you put food on the table, you pay the bills. There's always opportunity.
Yeah,
I had
for buyers, there's opportunity, and with looking for clients where the market isn't great, then there's opportunity with sellers who might be dealing with these affordability issues and perhaps a little bit distressed, and they need the help of a professional.
to all the professionals that take this seriously, a big message I've got for everybody is effort produces results. And you are going to face a lot of rejection, a lot of objection, and that's going to be normal. We live in a sales world. This is what we do. We hunt every day. Understanding, though, that you need to embrace that rejection, embrace the fact that you've been told no, embrace the fact that people may want to wait, embrace the fact that they might come to you for that education to understand what's going on and where they should be navigating. These are all positives. And it's a choice on the way we look at it. It's the way we approach it, the way we go to our day to day. Again, I will always say that, again, that effort produces results. Keep going, because there's a lot of people that are giving up. There's a lot of people right now. In fact, as we know, as of Monday, over 20% of people gave up on their goals, on what they wanted to achieve this year. And I mean, look, I know it may sound wrong, but I'm like, great, let them give up. That makes them like so much easier for the rest of us, but it is that thing to say, like, if you want something, if you want to be successful this year, regardless of what's going on, find ways to go out there and do the work that needs to be done, because there are a lot of opportunities. And dare I say, I'll say it anyways, but with all the renewals coming up, there's going to be even more opportunity. People are going to need to make some moves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know that with the stress test, that's been an issue, over the last few years, especially with rates going up where, people had to qualify at a certain level. And now with rates increasing, they're already past that level. So we know that the federal government removed the stress test for insured mortgage renewals. So at least we have those people that are currently homeowners. They can now look in the market at other lenders just to see if there's a better product out there, but they don't have to go through that entire process again to requalify at a higher level.
Right. So we look at the trends. We look at what's going on over the past decade, and listings have either been flat, they've been trending downwards, as we've just mentioned. Why would you say that this is, or would you say, why is this problematic in the face of a growing population, and how should everybody using these insights to plan ahead?
Well, it's problematic because we're talking about all these people looking to purchase home, not even just purchase, but for the rental market as well. We don't have supply to fill the demand. We're looking at immigration at over 500,000 people coming into Canada over the next few years. And we know that a large portion of these people are going to move into the GTA. People need some comfort. They need this stability to know that they're going to have an affordable place to live. So it's an ongoing issue. And we know all three levels of government, they're continuing to acknowledge that this is an issue, and they're trying to include various policies. But at the end of the day, we need shovels in the ground and real solutions to make sure that we have housing for everybody.
Yeah, we had a question from our VIP room here in the chat, where one of our members here was asking, when people are immigrating to Canada, what percentage of them are settling into the GTA versus the rest of Canada? And as you just stated, a large percentage. Or would you say it's the majority? Do we have numbers to understand that?
I don't have them on me.
Yeah.
But it is a significant portion where, we are the largest city in Toronto and our surrounding areas. We take on an enormous portion of the people coming into the country, which is fantastic. But again, we have to have, housing options available for these people.
And that we know is an issue. Now, if we take all of this and we sort of, doing like that recap, that look back into what happened with 2020 to 2022, what happened in 23, the same way I say yesterday is old news, all of that is old news. All we can use it for now is data, right? We can leverage the data to say to ourselves, okay, where are we going? So let's take that now and let's look ahead. Let's look ahead to where we're going, where the opportunities are. Lot of speculation around rates, and you were just talking about the rates and the refi, and staying with the same lenders. A lot of speculation around rates. Everybody believes they are on their way down. I believe it'll spark prices to come back up, but I'd like to ask you: do you believe it'll spark prices to come back up? Will this increase activity with people? What do we feel is going to happen with the rates, and then what reverberating impact will this have on the market itself?
Think there is an expectation that rates are going to start to trend lower. And without the supply of homes on the market, we're going to start to see the market tightening up, and that's going to lead to some, renewed growth in prices.
So with those, seeing those prices going back, do we see prices starting to climb even higher?
It's very possible. We saw that, over the last couple of years, and it starts to move at an unprecedented rate. So really, there needs to be more work done in government and policymakers to find solutions to this problem. TRREB believes in prioritizing the missing middle, which is multifamily units and purpose-built rentals, so that we're able to accommodate people, and so we don't have this situation where prices start to skyrocket at an unmanageable pace.
So the thought there then is multifamily units and those types of dwellings.
Yeah, and opportunities, for existing homeowners to also be able, to be able to create more space within their existing properties to accommodate people. We have so many people close to retirement and all the, older people that they're not giving up their homes. They're staying in them, but perhaps there's an opportunity if we have, multifamily properties, that there's solutions there that will open up some properties on the market.
It's interesting. I mean, the first thought that comes to mind for me is like, it's a totally personal, subjective thing, but I want nobody living in my basement. Like, I want nobody that's not my family living in my home. But I can see how it is one of those things that needs to be thrown onto the whiteboard, to look at it and say, hey, is this an option? Right.
And for some people, that's an option that they do want to explore, because it does help with affordability. So they're able to, get into home ownership if they have the ability to, to offset some of their costs.
Yeah, that's I think that whole getting into home ownership thing is such a sticky situation these days. It's we talk about getting more roofs, and then we talk about the fact that, prices are still what they are, and just it's that rate where I think we've seen housing prices climb exponentially, and then we've seen, wages only climb like slightly, over the years. And to me, that's obviously, look, having the amount of dwellings for people to get into is one thing for sure. I do believe too that the prices are that next level, and I think that that's a barrier to entry for many. I think that the ability to upgrade being very difficult for many does not allow people to move out of, let's say, their starter home, which might be more affordable to somebody else, and help them, that person that, like I sort of quoted earlier, like normal working people, right, that are working hard. I think, it being difficult for them to move up makes it difficult for them to move out, which makes it difficult for somebody else to have an opportunity to move in.
Exactly.
Right. So there's a number of things at play here, and something's got to give. Now, beyond the rates, we know that housing supply has been a longstanding issue. I've had that conversation many times on this show with many of your colleagues. And with the continued increase in immigration, as we were just talking to, with the majority very much coming to larger cities, including Toronto, do we see an end in sight for the whole thing to housing supply? Like, I know that, I was watching something the other day, and we saw, just won't name names, but high level ranking officials in government talking about what they're doing to fix things, and then other people on the other end kind of going, it's not enough. It's not enough. Do we see an end in sight for this?
TRREB lobbies at all levels of government, really
Yeah.
passionate about the mission and trying to share guidance and lend support so that, they can press on with these housing issues and try to find solutions.
Yeah, no, I know TRREB is hard at work. That's one thing that we're very aware of, is that TRREB and the collective body there of all of you that are at the helm there are working hard to talk to the different levels of government, to explain what's going on, and really do act as a very powerful voice for our industry. And on behalf of the industry, we thank you for that. On behalf of homeowners, we thank you guys for that. Again, very subjective, in my mind. I don't know where we see an end in sight unless all of a sudden we start tearing down all sorts of, farmland and really just starting to just build. But of course, there's a lot more red tape going on there too, of are the builders getting the access to what they need as quickly as they need it? Then you get to the next place of, labor. Do we have enough labor? Do we have enough people to be able to do it? And part and parcel, I guess there's the positive, maybe the silver lining to all the immigration might be that. But are we bringing in the skilled people that are required? And that's not a question to you. That's just more of a general kind of like, putting it out there. Do we have the right folks coming in that have those skills that are required or not to be able to assist with the issue? So it's, I don't know. It's like that ever-going circle that just keeps turning around, eh?
Yeah. So we're looking for, a stronger market. We want buyers to have confidence, and we want move-up buyers to, find a place where they can move up, to open up space for first-time buyers. And then at the same time, we have this issue where as soon as there's interest, prices start to go up as well. And then it becomes unaffordable. And then we have issues in the rental sector as well, where that's really become very tight.
Do we see this whole thing being amplified? Like I was mentioning earlier about the first-time home buyers and people that, want to move up and, all that stuff. Like with the price, with potential of rates coming down, like even a point. My suspicion is that prices will go up a little bit because people will begin to be a little bit more active. Yeah. Do we see it being amplified?
I'm hoping there'll be some caution. I don't think anyone ever expected rates to climb as quickly as they did.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've experienced that. So it's not just a conversation about, 20 years ago, we had double-digit interest rates, and it wasn't, rates were climbing so fast and prices were going down, and we hadn't really experienced that. So now that we've really seen that over, a period of time, I think maybe people are more cautious in that sense.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well, this is the thing. You hope. To me, it was there was the sheeple mentality that went on during the that couple years of that thing that we were all going through. But there was that mentality of people to try to just follow suit. Everybody's doing, so I'm going to do. And it's a scary place to be, because again, that's what, drove those prices to go way up as fast as they did, which then caused that, the action causes the reaction, and the reaction was, we've got to make the rates go up so that people can sort of slow this thing down a little bit. Do we believe that more supply will help with affordability?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's all about supply and demand. So the less we have, there's just no stopping the demand.
Right.
And it's not just immigration. People, they want to own a home, right? They want to have a place to gather family and raise their children. So it's something that really is a dream for a lot of people, and the motivation and desire is there. So it's going to continue.
I was reading a post on Reddit the other day, and I believe I actually did a quick video on this. Somebody's saying something about, it was almost like they weren't going to be able to do it. Like the dream is over kind of thing. Like, I'm not going to be able to buy a house. And I've got buddies of mine that are accountants that, I got one friend of mine, he's got 3 boys. He's like, I've done the math, and he's an accountant, right? Because I've done the math. My kids will be living with me till they're 42 years old. I'm like, well, dude, you had 3 boys. That's part of the problem. But no, it's there's a lot of folks that have gotten to that point. I think the article was like I've lost hope. Right. And that's a problem. That's an issue when people are sitting there saying that they've lost hope on being able to buy their first time home. Which I then look and say, if we look back to, again, what happened with the way people go to work and the mindset that especially the younger generation has around getting up to go to work every day, going through the 2020 to 2022 time, those 2 years, a lot of people started to change their habits, change the way they work, change where they work from, which then said, as we came out of everything, the habits have already been instilled. I don't necessarily want to go back into the office. I don't want to work the same way I used to. Well, now we've got this younger generation that's coming up in that going, it's almost like they don't even understand from the 9 to 5 or the, get up and Monday to Friday kind of mundane 40-hour week, work week type of thing. It's not that they understand from the 50 to 60 to 80 hours like some of us do, but they don't understand from that full-time job, and they don't want to put in the effort to that. And I wonder, again, how, if they don't do that and they don't put in the effort, the hours for work, how are they ever going to get in to be able to afford? But if they're also thinking to themselves, I'll never be able to afford, that's not even a motivator to go and do the work. And there goes that vicious circle again.
We do have, people that are fortunate to have families where there is generational wealth. And I think we're starting to see some of that passed down to the younger generations before, the parents or the grandparents pass away and the money's inherited. They're starting to look at transferring the money sooner so that these younger people can get into the market. But that's not everyone's experience. Not everyone has the luxury of that, of that wealth.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there's obviously going to be some. I know that has been brought up. I believe Benjamin Tal brought that up on this show when he was on. And we talked about generational wealth. We talked about, again, immigration and people coming in with money, and again, there's going to be a percentage of people that fall into those brackets. I look at the overall masses, and I just, the housing, the economics of it all, something's missing there. Something's got to give, so we talk about housing supply. Is there anything, what can we as an industry do to try to help this situation?
I think the awareness is a big part of it. Working with TRREB, I'd say volunteering at TRREB, government relations to help lobby all levels of government. I think that's important. I think educating our clients, making sure that they understand what's happening out there, if there are opportunities, what the challenges are. I think it's really just making sure we're all aware of what's going on.
So, and to ask you this, as we ask about educating our clients, I often talk to that as communicate to educate, right? Like, try to look, we know the cliche, know you like you trust you. It's a cliche for a reason, everybody. It actually is the way it goes, right? So you've got to build that up with people. The trust factor needs to be established so people will talk to you about their money. People will talk to you about those things. The same way we say communicate to educate, in order to even put yourself in a position to have those conversations with people, you've got to be communicating with people, right? Have you got anything specific? Like I know you've got the brokerage family biz, you've been in the industry a long time. Is there anything specific, like when it comes to talking with our agents, even specifically what we could suggest to people in terms of housing crisis, translate this message to people? Is there something there that we can share with people? Just random thoughts here, suggestions?
I think it's really just, understanding that the purchase and sale of a property, it's very emotional, but there needs to be some evidence-based decision-making in there, because it is the largest financial transaction that most of us will ever undertake. So really having the research and the reporting, which, TRREB is really fantastic with providing for its members. I think just empowering everyone, realtors and clients with all that information is key.
Yeah, I think again, what this comes back to is constant communication with your client base, right? We know that this business has been a repeat and referral business for forever. Naturally, you got to go out there and you got to prospect, you got to meet new people. That being said, it's a lot of people that already have some knowledge of who you are and what you're about. That's typically where the business comes from. So being able to open up that dialogue with those people, and not just assume that everybody fully understands what's going on, but being able to take a lot of this message and translate that. Now we know that TRREB releases a market outlook year in review, a report each year. When is that going to be available for everybody? Where can they get it? And why should everybody who's tuned in be sure to get themselves up to speed with the information that is included in there?
Yeah, so the 2024 Market Outlook and Year in Review Digital Digest comes out on Thursday, February 8th, and it will
Okay.
be at treb.ca. So it really is an all-encompassing, set of documents that really it covers every aspect of the market, including, resale and new home and commercial activity. So there's just a lot of information there to help empower TREB members so that they can in turn go and empower their clients with information to make sure that they're making the right choices in their home ownership journey.
So can we am I as a realtor allowed to take that, share that out to people? Is it advised to do so? Is this something that should stay internal but take excerpts out of it and leverage that in my newsletters and my communication, my social media posts?
I think it's definitely information that should be shared. I think we know that everyone wants to talk about real estate. Everyone wants to know what's happening in the market. What do you think is going to happen, in the new year? Yeah, it's information that really needs to be put out there so people understand the challenges and the opportunities. And again, we need to understand where we've been to understand where we're going, because there are trends and different things that will come up that will help make more sense of the market.
I think when we look at the trends, we're going to look at those this moment in time as that height of where we've been, and it certainly can provide some insights. And if we look back to where the previous heights were, what years those were, and then what happened after that, and sort of where did it go, what period of time did that happen in? It's always important to leverage the data. This is something that when we're speaking with our coaching clients, or especially our one-to-one clients, is looking back on the data. If you don't track the data of how far you've come, it's impossible to know how far you've come. So I had a conversation with somebody this morning about, our best year in real estate and looking back and saying, when you don't achieve that again, you wonder what you did wrong. You start to get down on yourself about it. And I asked him flat out, what was your best year? And he said 2022. I said, are you kidding me? You're going to compare what's going on right now to 2022. It's not even a fair comparison for yourself, right? Because it's just understanding the data that was there, but there's also a market factor that's at play right now with interest rates and activity, et cetera, that's just, it's going to work against you from being able to get to those heights. However, let's look back on the actions that we took when we were in that year. Let's look back on the things we were doing leading up to that year to set us up to be able to take advantage of that stuff. And that's where I say to everybody again, tracking everything you do right now is crucial, because those tiny little actions that you take, those tiny little brushstrokes, those are what paint the masterpiece down the road, right? Every day is about planting a seed and then getting up and watering that garden.
Yeah,
And as
that's
we keep,
very true. I have one agent who's been in the industry for a long time, really seasoned veteran.
yeah,
And if he finds that he's not having as good of a year as he expected, he goes back and he keeps all his planners for, every year, and all his appointments are tracked, open houses, personal events, things like that. And he's not looking for what he did wrong or what wasn't working. He's looking for what he did right. What did his life look like? What did he do with, even with family, and what did his personal life look like? How many appointments was he going on, and open houses? And he's really looking for the positive things that were going on in his life, because that's the mindset that he needs to get back to, because that's where the success is.
and that is exactly why you track the data.
Yeah.
Yet most people find it too difficult to track. And the tracking is actually a very simple little process. most people find it difficult because they just don't want to put in the effort for it. Yet, as you say about that agent, I can share umpteen stories about that where we look at, we look at, and I mean, look, coming off of the, the new year and doing all the business planning, the goal setting, the marketing plans and everything else back in sort of the November timeframe through December, we looked at a lot of data, individually with each client, looking at data and saying, okay, what were those trends? What did we see? Where, what months did we have a lot of success? What months did we not have success? Some months were success from a income perspective, and some months were success because we actually did the actions we needed to do. Well, the one thing that we found, Jen, and I know you can attest to this, and one thing we found along the way was that when you put in the actions, let's say in the first few months, the income is also up there in the next few months. But if the actions drop off because the income is up, I can promise, and the data tells us that the following few months, the income will be down.
Yeah,
Right. So there's
absolutely.
always this vicious cycle of trying to keep up with, the workload and how much there is to do. And all of a sudden I get busy and I've got all these clients. Again, my encouragement is always think like a hunter, not like an order taker. You're always thinking about what can I do to get out there and go find the next opportunity? What can I do to have that next conversation? And I try to break that down and make it very simple, right? Is that, again, what you're not doing today, although yes, you're looking for another deal. What you're not doing today is going into the day going, I'm looking for a deal. What you're doing today is going into the day saying, I'm going to do the actions I need to do that will produce those deals.
Consistency.
Oh, that's the word. Consistency.
Yeah.
It's the magic ingredient to achieving anything you want in life.
Yeah. I
Right.
see it all the time in the fall. The agents get back to work after taking the summer off and they're freaking out. I don't have any leads. Nothing's coming in. And it's because they took that time off, which everyone's entitled to do. And we really need to do that. But you have to understand that that's what's happened. And then all of a sudden it's a little slow, but then they really start to pick up. And, the end of their year and then going into the new year is fantastic because they really got back to work. So it's
Right.
finding that happy medium and then knowing where you're going to slow down. And sometimes it's necessary and you need to do it. But just understanding the process.
Well, here, take us through that for a minute, because obviously you've got an office, you've got realtors. How should they be thinking going into the year ahead? What advice do we have for everybody as they're progressing through, the first month of the year, the first quarter of the year, the unknown whether rates are going to come down and prices are going to go up and activity is going to pick up. I mean, we're all kind of like crossing fingers for a busy spring. We don't know. How should we be thinking right now?
I think I would always stay positive. Again, there's always people that need to buy and people that need to sell. And the motivation isn't always attached to affordability. Sometimes it's a necessity. So regardless of what's happening with rates or with home prices, they need to make a move. So I think it's just most important to stay in touch and have the information that these people need so that you can help guide them to make the right choices.
I was going to say to you, why so important? Like, why is it more important now than ever that we put that emphasis on the personal connections?
It's just the key to every transaction. If you have to have that personal connection to build trust and credibility, and you have to really understand the unique needs of every individual so that you can guide them properly and make sure that the direction you're taking them in suits their requirements. And then once, with that positive connection, you build a great client experience, and that's going to be key in your long-term success as a realtor. It's all those positive experiences.
It really is, right? I know through my experience, 70 to 90% of a realtor's business will always come from that contact list. That what I call group number one, right? The people that know us, like us, trust us, the, past clients, friends and family, colleagues, people that we play sports with. That's where the business comes from. And it's interesting to me that, the trends in this business have been so much about getting online and automating and almost creating that disconnection, between us and, let's say, again, that most important audience. And although, a lot of this stuff, I mean, look, these social medias are in place for us to be able to connect more with people. They're in place to be able to, to be able to more quickly speak to more people, which is nice. However, that personal connection is where somebody will have a conversation with you about their finances, about their money, as we said earlier, about the interest rate. Can they afford to renew their mortgage? Do they need to upsize? They might want to upsize, but they need to downsize. They're not going to have that conversation with just anybody. And if we're not having those ongoing conversations, those ongoing personal connections with people, we're not making the phone calls. You don't learn these things. You don't get to have that. You know, I've shared this story with a few of my clients, but I mean, you know, I actually did a prospecting call a couple months ago to a lady who, like, I just, started off the call and said hello, and she started talking with me, and when it was a great call, and she'd explained she was going away on vacation, and then she was coming back, and then she was going for another vacation, and she's from the East Coast, and then she was coming back, and then she goes, I'm going to watch my Leafs beat the Montreal Canadiens in Montreal. And I stopped and I went, pardon me, those are my Leafs. And Jen, like, the conversation went on for another 20 minutes. We talked about hockey, right? But now we've got a personal connection, right? Now we've got the opportunity that, like, I'm definitely going to follow up with her because she told me which game she was going to. I'm going to follow up after the fact and talk to her about hockey.
Yeah.
But you create a personal connection. You create an opportunity for another conversation. It doesn't mean you need to get business right away, right? So I think, again, the market outlook, year in review, the report that TRREB releases, I believe it's crucial for people to take that stuff, read through it, understand it, take what you can learn, feed your brain with the information, and share that back to your audience, spark a conversation. You're going to learn something from those people that you might not have known if you just left it to automation, social media, and everything else.
Yeah, it's always great if you have something that you can share with people. I mean, we see the same news. We all watch the same news channels and, see the same articles online or in the paper, but there's always a little bit of extra info, I think, that you can find there that you can share. And that's really where you can build the trust, where you're sharing something that might relate specifically to someone's situation. And it's not just generic information. And that's the personal connection, if you can relate it to their personal life.
There it is, right? It's getting to know people. That's why I say, like, the first, your first few phone calls or your first few door knocks, they're not even there. Like, again, yes, the end game. We want to list your house. We want to help you buy something. If that's your end game, though, like, if you start at the end, people will tell you no, and they won't want to talk to you again. Still got to build relationships.
Yeah. How can you guide someone to make such a crucial decision if you don't really understand what's happening in their life and what their motivations are, what their requirements are? We all, might want to live in a big mansion, but that's not necessarily feasible. It just isn't realistic in a lot of cases. So you want to guide that person to make the right choice as well, a sustainable choice.
So here, as we talk about sustainable choices, and let's come back to this big question around planning and what the future holds of our housing market. The people in our city, the people in our province, the people in our country. It's a year where people will be making more moves than they did last year. Maybe is it a year that people will be making more moves? Should people be treading more cautiously and continue to have some more patience when it comes to buying and selling? Like, I guess from right off the top of the show, when I said, I want to break this one down, is now the time to buy and or sell?
I think it's going to be unique for every single person, right? It's hard to just put everyone in one bucket and say, this is going to be the right move for you this year. Or, you should hang tight and this isn't the right time for you. Every situation is going to be unique. So again, that's why you want to make sure you have the tools and the information that you can share with the client so that you can help them make the right decision. So if you don't help them make the right decision, the likelihood of them coming back to you when they have to make a similar decision in a few years, the likelihood of them returning to you is probably slim.
Yeah, no, okay. I would agree with that. And I do think that, the proper advice and guidance to people is also crucial. Not just trying to close a deal.
Yeah.
So we've got the market report year in review, which will be available on February 8th. We also have Realtor Quest coming up on May 15 and 16 here in Toronto. Largest real estate conference and trade show in the country every single year. Share some highlights with us. I mean, I know for myself, I've been there years and years in a row. We're always there. It's a great opportunity for people in the industry to be able to network with each other, to be able to learn, what service providers might be out there for them, to go to the, not only the networking sessions, but the learning sessions. Share some highlights for us. Is there anything there that you guys have brewing that we might be able to get a little bit of insight into?
We have some pretty exciting keynote speaker announcements that will be coming up soon. And, we try to relate everything to real estate, mindset, and, things like that. So I think that'll be really interesting. Our speaker series is always phenomenal. Innovators, change makers and industry experts on different parts of the market. So lots and lots going on there. We had over 10,000 people last year after we had a little bit of a break. So we're just really excited to get back in person. I think it's such an important part of our business. Again, we spend a lot of time online or within our small communities. So getting out there in front of other people and connecting and networking is really important, and building a referral network with our TRREB member partners.
Yeah, I can attest to that. Last year was busy. Like
Yeah.
that had to be the busiest show I'd seen in a long time. I remember speaking to John about that, and we were looking around. And I said, like, man, you guys did a great job with this one this year. Like it is crazy, crazy busy. I think everybody showed up.
Really was. I think it was record breaking. So,
Yeah.
we'll see if we can break some more
Yeah.
records this year. And, and it's free for TRREB members. It's a member benefit. And then our client partners with PropText, where we share MLS, it's a free service for them as well. So we really do encourage people to come out.
Well, I would double down on that and say to everybody tuned in, if you are within the local Toronto area, the show is based out of Toronto. If you are even within the region, I mean, I would recommend. I know there's some people that actually flew in last year.
We get people from
show.
all over.
Yeah.
We had quite a showing from the US, and I think there were some global partners that came out as well. Lots of hotels. That's why they picked this location. So lots of accommodation around. And really, you could make a little bit of a trip out of it with colleagues.
Oh, for sure. And again, another awesome networking opportunity. But the advice to everybody is check it out. Go over to the Realtor Quest website. You just what's the site? Realtor Quest.
It's realtorquest.ca.
Yeah, realtorquest.ca.
So
that's what I thought it was.
Up to date on everything that's happening there with the announcements about the speakers.
Yep. Well, I would say to everybody, make sure that you book the time and you get there. If there's a trade show to go to, if there's an event to go to. I mean, look, we've got some fantastic events that are put on by different groups within our industry, which is amazing. I know, again, from a Realtor Quest perspective, I've been going year after year after year for almost 20 years. It continues to get better, and last year again was just awesome. So I have no doubt that this year will be another fantastic show.
Yeah, it's put together by realtor volunteers and the amazing TRREB staff. So it really is specifically geared to the real estate industry.
Well, this is cool. I am looking forward to it. I'll tell you, it's in my calendar.
March 15th or May 15th and 16th.
May 15th to 16th here in Toronto. So Jen, question that I like to ask at the end of each show.
Sure.
You've gotten up. You've gone to work. You've done what you had to do in a day. The end of the day is here. You're at home. How do you know what's been a successful day for you?
A successful day for me. So kind of perhaps cheesy, but I always figure if I'm happy, if my son is happy and we're healthy and we're safe, then to me, that's a successful day.
Love it. That's thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're keeping our batting average up. This is perfect. No, it's a question that we ask at the end of each show. And as my regular listeners have heard, once again, money was not mentioned. That's a big one. Enough. Okay, that's a big one. because as we sit there and we label out goals and we label out what we want to achieve, everybody talks about money, dollars, how much they want to make. And the one thing that I have all the time is to come back to, what about health? What about family? What about loved ones? What about time? And it's interesting because I pop that question up, and it's one that you're not, that nobody's ever prepared for. But it's interesting to hear that candid answer. And so I just nice, genuine. I love your answer there about family.
Okay,
And
thank you.
yeah, no, absolutely. So as we wrap up here, any final words of wisdom for everybody that tuned in about anything related to our conversation today? Overall, again, we our topic today was, is now the time to buy or sell? But of course, we've got our industry that's tuned into this right now. Any words of wisdom for them about what they should be, sort of thinking, or the mindset they should have going into this year? I'd like to say, anything they can do to build mind share so they get more market share. What final words have you got for us?
I think I would just recommend to try and stay positive and professional, and really use the data that's available. We're here on behalf of TRREB, so there's so many resources and tools available for TRREB members. So I would just really encourage everyone to really lean into that, to help them do a great job for their clients.
Awesome. Very awesome. Jennifer Pearce, we thank you. We thank you for making the time to join us on the show today to share some insights into what's going on with our industry, what's going on with our largest real estate board in the country. A big congratulations to you. We're excited to to see what you bring to the table and how you're gonna really benefit this industry this coming year. And I wish you the best of luck, and of course, open arms for all the support we can provide to you as well. But once again, I want to thank you very much for making the time to join us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
You bet. You bet. We'll talk to you very shortly.
Thanks.
You are either listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And hey, while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of our MindShare 101 goal setting worksheet to help you conquer 2024 and become the version of you that you really want to be. A reminder as well, if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, an in-person keynote conversation presentation, momentum training, ongoing virtual training, just get in touch with me. We'll set up a consultation call. We'll learn more about what you're looking to achieve and how we will help you do just that. For all inquiries, again, just get in touch with us today. Of course, don't forget to leave a review of this podcast at www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. For those of you that are on iPhone, it'll take you directly to iTunes. And for those of you on Android, you can just click on Spotify, whatever platform you're listening on. We'd love if you just leave us a nice little 5 stars. And of course, the comments and the feedback and the reviews, they mean so much to us. For everybody that's done that in the past, I thank you gratefully. For everybody that's about to do that, again, a thank you in advance for that. If we haven't yet, let's connect on Facebook at MindShare101, on TikTok at MindShare101, and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. Just before we take off, I want to say a big thank you to Kids Keep in Touch Systems and REM Magazine for sponsoring the MindShare podcast. Be sure to visit our site to learn more about what these powerful companies will do to help you grow your business. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.